and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Nesli and I'm a pattern maker. If you have been looking for a bag that is easy to wear, practical and fits seamlessly into your everyday life, I think you'll love this one. It has become the kind of bag I reach for almost daily because it's so comfy and it's so light and it's really fun to sew. And that is my new sewing pattern, the Sling bag. I spent a little bit of time developing this pattern, tweaking, testing, and making small changes, but now I'm really happy with how it's turned out. It's been a little bit of journey, but I think we are here now. I graded this pattern as an intermediate level pattern, but if you're a brave beginner, don't let that stop you, because I think the overall construction of the bag is pretty straightforward. Maybe just a few steps like attaching the straps. You might find it a little bit fiddly, but other than that, I honestly believe that all the sewists of any level can make it work. And as usual, this bag comes in 3 sizes. My personal favorite is medium. It fits all of my needs. It holds all your daily essentials without feeling bulky, without like you're carrying a heavy bag around your neck. The small is really great for minimal days, and the large one is great as a gym bag or even for weekend getaways. You'll also find 4 pocket options included in the pattern. You can sew 2 different ones at once, or skip them altogether with no pockets, or sew the same 2. It is totally up to you how you want to customize inside the bag. If you're working with a lightweight or mid-weight fabric, I highly suggest that you use interfacing, and also you can go with a polyester thin batting, but just make sure it is really thin unless you are into carrying a pillow around. So besides your main fabric, interfacing, lining, and your zipper, here's what else you need to have. A 4 cm wide back slider, an 18 cm zipper for pocket number 1, and 1 cm wide elastic for pocket number 4. All the fabric requirements, cutting layouts, and all the other information that you can think of are in the sewing instructions manual, and the pattern files come in A4, A0 letter formats, and they are all layered as usual, so you can print out the size you need using Adobe Acrobat Reader. And that is everything I need to say, so let's get sewing.
Firstly, cut out all your main fabric, interfacing and lining pieces. You'll find how many of each you need in the How Many Pieces Will I Cut section in the instructions. Follow the cutting guide precisely. This way you'll ensure all your pieces are ready for assembly and that no fabric is wasted. Before we start sewing, apply interfacing to all your main fabric pieces. Instead of sliding your iron back and forth, press down and lift, moving from the center toward the edges. Apply interfacing to all of your main fabric pieces. If you're using wadding instead of interfacing, cut it just like you would for interfacing. The thinner, the better. It should add structure without turning your bag into a cushion. Pin it to the wrong side of each piece in a couple of places and baste around the edges to keep it from shifting while you assemble the bag. Once all your pieces are prepped, we are ready to start. Now I'm marking the notches on the main piece so you can see them clearly. These notches are super important for lining things up properly, so make sure you transfer all of them onto your fabric. To form the pleats, you'll need to mesh diagonal notches at the top and bottom edges of the main piece. Do the same thing on the other side too. The idea is to bring this line onto this one, so this notch matches with this one and that one with this one. Start by pinching the first line and folding it over the notch in the middle. That creates the pleat structure. Pin it in place. Now repeat the exact same pleat folding process on the other side of the bag. Now secure the pleats with a basting stitch. Stitch as close to the edge as possible so that the stitching stays within the seam allowance and won't show on the final bag. Repeat the pleat forming and basting stitch steps on the second main piece as well. If you're sewing inner pocket number 1, you'll need to transfer the rectangle from the paper pattern onto your lining piece. To do that, poke 4 pins through each corner of the rectangle, then flip the piece over and mark where the pins come out on the other side. Once all 4 points are marked, remove the pins and connect those dots to draw the rectangle directly onto the wrong side of the fabric. Do the same for the pocket piece too. When you're done, it should look like this. Now I'm also marking the notches on the pieces so you can see them more clearly. To help you tell the wrong side from the right, I'm writing back on the wrong side of the pieces. Now I'm flipping the main lining piece so the right side is facing up, and I'm taking the pocket piece and matching the top notches of the both pieces at the center. I'm also aligning the pocket's corners with these notches. I'm double checking that the right sides are touching. Make sure the rectangles you drew on both layers are perfectly aligned. You can pop a few pins in if it helps hold them in place. Then go ahead and sew right along that rectangle you marked. When you reach a corner, stop with your needle down, lift your presser foot, turn the fabric 90 degrees, lower your foot again, and keep going. Next, we'll draw a cutting guide. Mark a line down the center of the rectangle, running lengthwise. At each end of that line, add 2 tiny diagonal lines going into the corners. This creates a small triangle at both ends. Start by cutting along that center line, stopping when you reach the triangle tips. Then cut diagonally up into the corners, following the lines you drew. Try to cut really close to the stitching, about 1 to 3 mm away, so it holds well but still turns cleanly. Just be careful not to cut through the stitches. Now push the piece through that opening and flip it all the way to the other side. Make sure the whole thing is on the wrong side of the lining before we move on. I'm pinning in a couple of places to hold it in place. Then use your fingers and an iron to shape and flatten the zipper opening. It'll start looking really neat now. Alright, zipper time. So for all sizes, the inner zipper should be 18 cm long. With the right side of the main lining piece facing up, place your zipper under the opening and push the zipper end over to one side. Pin it in place and make sure it's right in the middle from every edge. Let's top stitch around the rectangle. You can position your presser foot right up against the zipper teeth. Try to stitch as close to the edge as you can so the zipper stays secure and has a nice clean finish. Now that the zipper is in place, we are ready to finish up inner pocket number 1. First, place the pocket piece right side up in front of you and cut the excess zipper if you have any. Those little notches should end up right on the fold. Fold the bottom edge up so it meets the top. Align the top row edges and pin the sides together. Just make sure you are only pinning the pocket pieces together. Don't catch the lining underneath. Then sew both sides with a 1 cm seam allowance. Next, we are going to secure the top edge. Mesh the upper corners of the pocket with the notches on the lining and sew along the top edge through all layers with a simple basting stitch. This will help hold everything in place while we assemble the rest. Do a small basting stitch on the bottom corners of the pocket to the bottom edge of the lining. This will prevent the pocket shifting inside the bag while assembling the rest of it. And that's it. Here's how it looks from the right side when the pocket is done. If you're sewing inner pocket number 2 instead, let me show you how. I'm marking the notches on the pieces. And to help you tell the wrong side from the right, I'm writing back on the wrong side of the pieces. Use center top and bottom notches to draw a vertical line to help you place your pocket accurately. You can use a heat erasable pen or your favorite method here too. Place the two pieces right sides together and sew across the top edge using a 1 cm seam allowance. Press your seam allowances to one side to help everything sit nicely. Now flip the pocket so the right sides are facing out and the wrong sides are touching. Pin in a couple of places. Then go ahead and top stitch along that top edge, about 1 cm in from the edge. This top stitch will hold everything together and also give you a clean finish. Next, take your lining piece and lay it in front of you with the right side facing up. Make sure all the notches from the paper pattern are transferred onto the fabric. Again, draw a vertical line with center top and bottom notches. The pocket's top corners should line up with the notches on both sides of the curved bottom edge. And make sure align all the corresponding notches and match up the vertical lines as well. Now sew along the entire curved edge, staying close to the edge to hold the pocket in place. At this point, your pocket is almost ready. If you want just one big compartment, you can leave it as is. But if you rather have two sections, sew right along that vertical line to create two compartments. And that's it. Here's how it looks from the right side when you are done. If you are decided to sew inner pocket number 3, here's how. I'm marking the notches on the pieces again. And once more, I'm writing back on the wrong side of the pieces. And again, use the center top and bottom notches to draw a vertical line to help you place your pocket accurately. Then place the two pieces right sides together. Sew along that top edge with a 1 cm seam allowance. Press seam allowances to one side. And then flip the pieces so the right sides are facing out and wrong sides are touching. Pin in a couple of places. Then do one last top stitch along the curved edge, again 1 cm from the edge. This will hold the layers together and give you a neat, clean finish. Now bring in your lining piece and lay it right side up in front of you. I'm making sure all the notches from the paper pattern are marked onto the fabric. Use the top and bottom center notches as a guide and draw a vertical line with a heat erasable pen or whatever you like to use. Center bottom notches will be matched first, and the pocket's top corners should line up with the notches on both sides of the curved bottom edge and match up the vertical lines as well. Since this pocket is a bit curvier, its top edge is wider than the lining, so the notches are extra important here. Now sew along the entire curved edge, staying close to the edge to hold the pocket in place. Now mesh the line you draw on the pocket with the center line on the lining and stitch along that line to divide the pocket into two compartments if you like. This pocket is slightly wider than the lining on purpose. It creates a bit of volume so you can fit chunkier things like your car keys. If you are sewing inner pocket number 4, let's do it. I'm marking the notches on the pieces again. And once more, I'm writing back on the wrong side of the pieces. And again, use the center top and bottom notches to draw a vertical line to help you place your pocket accurately. Then place the two pocket pieces right sides together. Sew along the top edge with a 1 cm seam allowance. Since this is a tight curve, you'll want to make a few little clips into the seam allowance to help it lay flat later on. I'm folding along the edge and clipping at an angle to create these little triangle notches. Press seam allowances to one side. Then flip the pieces so the right sides are facing out and wrong sides are touching. Pin in a couple of places. We are going to top stitch along the top edge, but this time do it with a 1.25 cm from the edge. The reason we are stitching this one a little lower is because we are creating a tunnel for the elastic. That little extra space will make threading much easier. You'll find all the elastic measurements in the How Should My Elastic Lengths Be section. The standard elastic width for the pattern is 1 cm, but feel free to use a different width, just adjust the top stitch line to match. Cut your elastic to the correct length depending on the size you're sewing. For medium, it is 37 cm. Grab a safety pin or a bodkin and use it to thread the elastic through the tunnel we created earlier with top stitching. My choice is a bodkin. I find it much easier to use. Push it in through one side and gently work it through the other side. When it comes out the other end, check that both ends of the elastic remain outside the tunnel. Now remove the tool and shift the elastic a little bit inside of the tunnel and align the end of the elastic with the tunnel opening and pin it in place. Do this for both sides and double check that the elastic isn't twisted inside. Distribute the elastic evenly inside the tunnel. Sew a small stitch right next to the tunnel edge to secure both elastic ends in place. This little stitch will stop the elastic from sliding inside the tunnel and keep it fully functional. Now bring in your lining piece and lay it right side up in front of you. I'm making sure all the notches from the paper pattern are marked onto the fabric. I'm writing back on the wrong side of the pieces. Use the top and bottom center notches as a guide and draw a vertical line with a heat erasable pen. Center bottom notches will be matched first, and make sure to align all the corresponding notches and match up the vertical lines as well. And the pocket's top corners should line up with the notches on both sides of the curved bottom edge. Now sew along the entire curved edge, staying close to the edge to hold the pocket in place. This gives you a big, roomy pocket with an elasticated top. But if you want two compartments instead, just align the line you drew on the pocket with the one on the lining and sew right along it to divide the space. The elastic at the top keeps everything snug and secure, so even small items won't fall out. And that's it. Your pocket is done. Now let's prep the zipper. If you're using continuous zipper like me, separate the teeth a little and trim one side slightly shorter. Insert the pointed end of the pull onto the longer side first and slide until you reach short side and insert that side into the other slot of the pull. Once you've done that, gently pull the zipper pull forward. Cut the excess uneven portion. Make a small stitch on the teeth to stop the pull. All related information can be found in the How Should My Zipper Lengths Be section. So I marked the required length by measuring from one end and marking the end points of the portion I'll use. I'm sewing the medium size, so I need a 40 cm zipper. But if your zipper is already the perfect length, you don't need to do all of that, of course. Make a small stitch on the teeth to stop the pull on this side too. The outer zipper length will vary depending on the size you're sewing, so please double check which zipper length you need for your selected size. Cut the excess but leave a small portion on each end. To determine the exact center, fold the zipper piece in half lengthwise so that these small stitches line up. Now take a small pair of scissors and make a tiny diagonal snip on both sides of the folded zipper edge. These little clips will create notches, helping us find the exact center on both edges of the zipper. Now grab all of your zipper pieces and place them with their wrong sides facing up, and make a mark 1 cm in from the edge on all of them. Then draw a line 1 cm in from the edge using those markings. These lines will be your sewing guide. Now take one with the main fabric and place it on the right side of the zipper, exactly at the small stitch line. If your zipper is already the perfect length, line this piece up right at the zipper stoppers. Once aligned, pin the piece in place so the 1 cm seam allowance side points toward the end of the zipper. Do the same for the other end. Next, turn your zipper over so the wrong side is facing up. Place the lining zipper pieces on top of the zipper, right sides touching to the wrong side of the zipper. Now take out the pin from the other side and stack all 3 layers together: main fabric piece, lining piece, and zipper, making sure those marked lines stay aligned. Once everything is lined up nicely, sew through all 3 layers at marked lines. If the zipper is sticking out past the edges, go ahead and trim it carefully now. This is how it should look after sewing. Once everything is sewn, the visible zipper portion between the 2 zipper pieces will measure 40 cm for the medium size. To hold everything together, align the raw edges of the main fabric and lining pieces and baste them close to the edge. Now grab your main piece and mesh the notches on the zipper to the center notch at the top edge of main piece. Open the zipper, then flip it so the wrong side is facing up. Align the zipper's raw edge with the raw edge of the main piece with right sides together. Make sure the ends line up too. Pin in a couple of places and stitch along this edge using a basting stitch, close to the edge. Once that's done, turn everything right side out. Grab a marking tool, heat traceable pen, tailor's chalk, whatever you like, and mark where the pleat lines meet the zipper. Transfer those same marks to the opposite side of the zipper teeth. Take your second main piece and align it with the unstitched side of the zipper. Now flip the piece over, and this time you'll match the center notches as well as new pleat markings to the pleat lines on the second main piece. Pin in a couple of places. Then go ahead and sew close to the edge. Once that's done, turn it right side out again. And look at that! You should see the pleat lines matching up with the zipper on both sides. With the zipper fully open, flip one side over and place it directly on the other, right sides together. Make sure that the wrong side of the zipper tape is visible. And take one of the lining pieces and mesh the top edges of the lining and main piece right sides together with the zipper sandwich in between, aligning all the notches starting from the center. Pin along this top edge and sew close to the zipper teeth using your zipper foot. When you flip everything open, you should now see the zipper teeth peeking out nice and clean between the 2 layers. Flip the lining attached side over the other main piece, placing the right sides of the main pieces together. Make sure that the wrong side of the zipper tape is visible. Now we'll attach the second lining piece. Align the top edge of the lining with the main piece, again starting from the center notch and matching all the notches. Pin in a couple of places and sew close to the zipper teeth using your zipper foot, just like we did before. Now we are going to top stitch along both sides of the zipper. This will secure the layers in place and give your zipper a nice clean finish. Pin the lining and main fabric layers together on both sides along the bottom edge. Open up the zipper and top stitch 5 mm from the seam line, parallel to the zipper on both sides from end to end. After stitching, you can trim the excess seam allowance on the inside to reduce bulk around the zipper. Just be super careful not to cut anything you shouldn't. Time to sew the bottom edges. Bring the main fabric pieces together with right sides facing and do the same for the lining pieces. First, mesh the center bottom notches together, and when joining the main fabric pieces at the bottom edge, make sure to align the pleat lines. You can use a pin to help mesh them up precisely. Pin in a couple of places along the bottom edge. Now sew along the bottom edge of the main fabric with a 1 cm seam allowance. Just make sure the zipper is open so you can place your straps later. Don't sew the short ends, we'll insert the straps there later. For the lining, we'll do something a little different. We'll be matching all the notches except for the center bottom notch because we need to leave a gap in the center so we can turn the back right side out later. Skip the center opening and just stitch the sides of the lining's bottom edge. Leave about 15 cm for medium size. After sewing, this is what the opening will look like. Let's start with the shorter strap. Make sure you transfer the notches on both edges, then place the interface piece wrong side up in front of you. Fold one of the edges with no notch in by 1 cm and give it a quick press. Now do the same for the other short edge. Fold it in by 1 cm and press again. At this point, both edges should be folded inward and your notches should still be visible on the unfolded sides. Next, fold the whole piece in half lengthwise, so the folded edges align perfectly. Pin it in place, and then sew along both long edges, staying close to the edge. Stitching the open side will hold the fold in place, and sewing the folded side gives it a clean, symmetrical look. Let's move on to attaching it to the back strap slider. Insert one of the raw edges up through the bottom of and then loop it over the center bar and bring it back down through the opposite side. Fold the piece in half, lining up the 2 raw edges. Now just stitch the 2 layers together close to the edge to secure them in place. Now grab your long strap piece, place it in front of you with the wrong side up, and make sure the notches are transferred onto the both short edges. Just like the short one, start by folding one of the long edges in by 1 cm and press it. Then fold the other long edge in the same way, 1 cm, and press again. At this point, both long edges are folded in and your notches should be on the short, unfolded sides. Next, fold one of the short edges in by 1 cm and press. Clip just a little bit at the corners to reduce bulk, but don't go near the edge so much. Then fold the whole piece in half lengthwise so that the long folded edges meet up nicely. Start by pinning the short edge you just folded and then keep folding and aligning all the way down the strap. Press it nicely. Once it's all aligned, sew both long edges and one of the short edges close to the edge. This secures the folds and gives you a clean finish. You'll now have a long strap with one short end closed and the other one open and raw. If it feels too long for you, you can trim it a bit from the raw edge. If you like to use a ready-made strap instead, feel free to go with one that's 4 cm wide. Just cut a 10 cm piece, same length as the short strap pattern, and place it to the back slider just like we did earlier. Now it's time to attach the straps to the back. On each side of the back we have 2 small openings between the lining and main fabric layers. We'll place the raw edges of our straps into the openings created by the main fabric layers. Before inserting the short strap through the bottom opening, you need to keep in mind that front side of the slider, not the back, should be facing right side of the main fabric inside and touching the bottom seam line of the main fabric. When we flip the bag right side out, it will be positioned correctly. Insert into the bag and place it towards the opening on the main fabric side. And when the raw edge sits in the opening, the edges of the strap should align with the notches on the short edges of the bag. Also, the center of the raw edge of the strap should match the bottom seam line of the main fabric. Even though you can't see the slider anymore, I can feel its front side is touching the main fabric seam on the inside. Then match the lining notches. Pinch the notches apart and match the notches on the lining side with the notches on the main fabric side. And not just that, but the seam lines along the bottom edges should line up too. Lay the seam allowances on one side and sew this edge with a 1 cm seam allowance. Now I'm pulling the strap out just to check. The bottom seam line aligns perfectly with the center of the strap. Now take the raw end of your long strap and slide it through the opening at the bottom of the lining. Insert into the bag and place it toward the opening on the main fabric side. Just like before, the edges of the strap should align with the notches on the short edges. Also, the bottom seam line of the main fabric should match the center of the raw edge of the strap. Just like before, pinch the notches on both lining and main pieces, and if you like, you can use pin to hold it in place. Again, not just that the notches on both layers align, but the seam lines along the bottom edges should line up too. Lay the seam allowances to one side and sew that edge with a 1 cm seam allowance. Same here again, you can see the center of the strap is nicely matching with the bottom seam line. Alright, the moment of truth. We are going to turn the bag right side out. Reach in through the gap we left in the lining and gently pull everything out. Once the whole bag is flipped, fold in the edges by 1 cm and you'll see they naturally want to follow the curve of the stitching. Match the center bottom notch and pin along the edge. Then sew close to the fold to neatly close the gap. Tuck the lining inside and arrange it nicely. With its pocket and everything, it looks super cute and practical. Now for the final strap adjustment. Take the end of the long strap and slide it up through the bottom of your back strap slider. Then loop it over the center metal bar and pull it back down through the opposite side. Our other bag with all the alternative options is also finished. And it looks just as great. I even added a tiny label to that one. Your sling bag is done. Give yourself a pat on the back and enjoy wearing it every day.